Have you ever wondered why so many people never truly change, even when they say they want to? The truth is harsh. Nobody really cares about your excuses, your struggles, or the stories you tell yourself. The world keeps moving, indifferent to your fears and insecurities. And that's exactly why you must learn to move for yourself. You can't live your life waiting for applause, for validation, or for someone to come and rescue you, because no one is coming. The only one who can save you is you. This is the brutal but liberating reality. If you want freedom, you must build it. If you want strength, you must train it. If you want meaning, you must create it. Most people waste their lives trying to prove something to others, chasing recognition that never really fills the emptiness inside. But here's the lesson that changes everything. Do it for you. Not for approval, not for status, not even for recognition, because at the end of the day, it's your soul that lives with the consequences of your choices. In this episode, we're going to explore the most powerful lessons that will remind you of this truth. Lessons that will challenge the way you think about freedom, pain, fear, discipline, gratitude, and purpose. Lessons that will shake you out of passivity and push you into action. And if you take them seriously, they can transform the way you see yourself and the world around you. So, are you ready to stop waiting for others to care? Are you ready to finally live in a way that proves you matter to yourself? Then let's begin. 1. Master the mind. Don't be ruled by it. Your mind is the most powerful tool you have, but it can also be your most dangerous enemy. Think about it. How many times have you wanted to do something important, only to hear that inner voice telling you to wait, to avoid risk, to stay comfortable? How many times has your mind tricked you into believing that comfort equals safety, when in reality, it is just keeping you stuck? The mind can either build your future or imprison you in fear. Mastering it is not optional. It's survival. Freedom doesn't begin when you get what you want. It begins the moment you stop being a slave to every impulse, every craving, every destructive thought that passes through your head. Most people live in chains without realizing it. Not chains made of metal, but of desires they cannot control. They eat because they feel sad. They quit because things feel hard. They procrastinate because their mind whispers that tomorrow will be easier. But tomorrow never comes, and the cycle continues. If you let your mind control you, it will always pull you toward what is easy, not toward what is meaningful. Philosophers have always warned about this. The Stoics, for example, insisted that true freedom comes not from indulging every desire, but from gaining mastery over yourself. Seneca wrote that, "No man is free who is a slave to his body," and that idea extends far beyond physical cravings. It applies to every mental weakness, anger, fear, laziness, envy, that can rule over you if you allow it. When your mind dominates you, you are no longer living consciously. You are just reacting, like a puppet pulled by invisible strings. The first step to mastering the mind is awareness. You have to catch it in the act. Notice the excuses it makes. I'm too tired. I'll start tomorrow. One more hour of distraction won't matter. These thoughts sound innocent, but they are the seeds of mediocrity. Once you recognize them for what they are, attempts by your mind to avoid discomfort, you can begin to take back control. The more you expose these lies, the weaker their grip becomes. The second step is discipline, not the harsh, joyless discipline that people fear, but the liberating kind. Discipline means deciding once and following through, no matter how your feelings shift. Your mind may resist, but discipline trains it to obey. Think of an athlete who trains even on the days he doesn't feel like it. Over time, his body and mind learn that excuses don't matter. Action matters. You can apply the same principle to your own life, whether it's studying, working on your goals, or building healthier habits. Every time you act despite resistance, you train your mind to serve you rather than sabotage you. The third step is learning to question your desires. Just because you want something doesn't mean it's good for you. Just because you feel an urge doesn't mean you must act on it. This is the difference between living like an animal and living like a conscious human being. Animals obey instinct. Humans have the power to rise above instinct, to say, I feel this urge, but I choose differently. Imagine how much stronger you become when you no longer chase every craving, when you can say no to distractions, when you can endure discomfort without breaking. That is real power. Psychology supports this too. Research on delayed gratification, like the famous marshmallow experiment, shows that people who can resist short-term temptations often achieve far greater success in life. Why? Because they are not ruled by impulse. They have trained their minds to value long-term growth over immediate pleasure. Every time you resist a temptation, you are not depriving yourself, you are strengthening yourself. But here's the most important truth. Mastering the mind doesn't mean silencing it completely. It means directing it. Your thoughts are like wild horses. If you don't hold the reins, they will drag you anywhere, often into chaos. But if you learn to guide them, those same wild forces can carry you faster and farther than you ever imagined. Meditation, journaling, conscious reflection, these are tools to take hold of the reins. When you master your attention, you master your destiny. So ask yourself, are you using your mind, or is your mind using you? Do you command your thoughts, or are you just obeying them? Because until you can stand above your impulses, you will never taste true freedom. The day you learn to say, I feel this urge, but I choose differently, is the day you begin to live as a master rather than a slave. And that's why this lesson matters so deeply. If you want power, peace, and purpose, you must start here. You must become the ruler of your own inner world. Because when you conquer your mind, the outside world loses its power over you. 2. Live fully in the present. How much of your life have you lost because your mind was trapped in a time that doesn't exist anymore, the past, or a time that doesn't exist yet, the future? Think about it. How often do you replay old mistakes, reliving them as if by torturing yourself you could rewrite them? And how often do you project yourself into a future filled with worries and possibilities that may never even happen? This is the silent theft of life. When your attention is everywhere, except here, now. The past cannot be changed, and the future cannot be controlled. Yet most people spend nearly all their waking hours obsessing over both. They regret, they replay, they fear, they fantasize. Meanwhile, the present moment, the only place where life actually happens, slips through their fingers. Imagine holding a cup with a small hole at the bottom. No matter how much water you pour in, it leaks away. That's how life feels when you don't live in the present. Always draining, never full. Living fully in the present does not mean ignoring your history or refusing to plan ahead. It means refusing to let either dominate you. The Stoics often reminded themselves that we suffer more in imagination than in reality. They understood that fear of the future and regret about the past are prisons built inside the mind. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, constantly urged himself, confine yourself to the present. He knew that peace is only possible when you anchor yourself in what is real, not in what once was, not in what might be, but in what is. Why is the present so hard to stay in? Because your mind loves movement. It is addicted to mental time travel. It jumps from one memory to another, from one fear to another, like a restless monkey. And every time you let it drag you into yesterday or tomorrow, you lose the one thing that truly belongs to you, today. Have you ever noticed that even when you're doing something enjoyable, eating, talking to a friend, walking outside, your mind often wanders elsewhere? You're physically there, but mentally absent. You're living half a life. But imagine the opposite. Imagine being fully immersed in this very moment, feeling the taste of your food, truly hearing the words of the person in front of you, noticing the texture of the air as you walk outside. Suddenly, ordinary life becomes extraordinary. The small details you usually ignore become alive. The mind quiets, the heart opens, and you discover that peace is not somewhere else. It's right here. Modern psychology echoes this. Mindfulness practices have shown again and again that living in the present reduces anxiety, lowers stress, and increases overall happiness. Why? Because anxiety is the tension between the past and the future. When you anchor yourself in the now, there is no tension. There is only presence. Your nervous system relaxes, your perspective clears. You realize that most of your suffering comes not from reality, but from the stories your mind creates about it. So how do you live more fully in the present? The first step is to notice when you're not here. Catch yourself when your thoughts drift into regret or worry. Ask, where am I right now? Am I here, or am I lost in a story? Simply noticing is powerful. It pulls you back. The second step is to engage your senses. Your senses are anchors to reality. Notice what you see, hear, feel, and smell. These details are the doorway back into the moment. The third step is to give yourself permission to slow down. In a world that glorifies speed, slowing down is an act of rebellion. Take time to breathe, to observe, to exist without rushing. And here's something crucial. Living in the present doesn't just make you happier, it makes you stronger. Because action is only possible in the now. You cannot change yesterday. You cannot act in tomorrow. You can only choose here. Every goal, every change, every step toward growth begins in this moment. The present is not only where peace lives, it's where power lives. Ask yourself, how many opportunities have you missed because you were too distracted by the past or too worried about the future? How many conversations with loved ones have you half experienced because your mind was elsewhere? How much of your own life has passed by unnoticed? If you want to stop losing time, you must stop losing the present. Living fully in the present is not about abandoning responsibility. It's about sharpening focus. When you concentrate on what is in front of you, you do it better, deeper, with more intensity. Work becomes more meaningful. Relationships become richer. Even struggles become manageable because you are no longer carrying the entire weight of the past and future. You're only carrying the moment, and that is always bearable. So remember this. Happiness doesn't wait for you in the future. It's not hidden in some past you can't return to. Happiness, meaning, and life itself are only ever here. If you cannot find peace now, you will not find it later. And if you cannot learn to live this moment, you will never live at all. 3. Freedom requires structure. Most people hear the word discipline and immediately think of restriction, rules, and punishment. They imagine shackles, not freedom. They believe that being free means doing whatever you want, whenever you want. But look closer. How many people who chase this version of freedom end up enslaved to addictions, to distractions, to impulses they cannot control? The paradox is clear. Without structure, there is no real freedom. Think of someone who spends their nights scrolling endlessly through social media, believing they're free because no one is telling them when to stop. But the truth is, they're not choosing at all. They're trapped by an algorithm, hooked by dopamine, enslaved by impulses stronger than their will. Or consider the person who says, "I'm free to eat what I want," and indulges without limits. Eventually, their health collapses, their energy drains, and they discover that their so-called freedom has chained them to weakness and disease. True freedom is not the absence of limits. True freedom is the ability to act in alignment with what you truly value, even when it's difficult. And this ability doesn't appear by chance. It is built brick by brick through structure. Structure gives you the power to resist what weakens you and pursue what strengthens you. It transforms chaos into clarity. It transforms good intentions into real results. The Stoics understood this deeply. Epictetus reminded his students that no man is free if he is not master of himself. And mastery requires order. Imagine a soldier who refuses training because he wants to be free. On the battlefield, he will die in chaos. Imagine a musician who rejects practice because they want to play freely. On stage, they will collapse in embarrassment. The ability to move with power, grace, and confidence only comes after discipline has laid its foundation. Psychology agrees. Habits create the structure of your daily life. When you automate good habits, waking early, exercising, focusing on meaningful work, you no longer waste energy debating with yourself every morning. The decision has already been made. You free your mind from constant struggle. Structure doesn't suffocate you. It liberates you from endless indecision and wasted effort. In fact, the people who complain most about feeling trapped are often the ones who live without discipline. They confuse indulgence with freedom, but indulgence only leads to dependency. Look at the most accomplished individuals in history: athletes, philosophers, inventors, leaders. Without exception, their greatness was forged through structure. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the Roman Empire, rose each day reminding himself of his duties and responsibilities. He was bound by structure, yet that very structure gave him the inner freedom to face chaos without breaking. Modern examples are no different. Entrepreneurs, artists, and innovators all rely on routines and systems that allow their creativity to flourish. Structure is the skeleton that supports freedom's movement. Here's the key. Discipline is not about restricting your life. It's about protecting your highest priorities. Without discipline, everything pulls at you. Your phone, your cravings, other people's demands. But when you create structure, you claim ownership over your time, your energy, your focus. You decide what deserves your attention and what doesn't. And that decision is freedom in action. Consider your own life. Where do you feel most trapped? Is it in your health, where lack of routine has left you tired and weak? Is it in your work, where distractions scatter your attention and prevent progress? Is it in your relationships, where inconsistency creates insecurity? In every case, the answer is the same. Structure sets you free. A clear routine for your body, your goals, and your commitments transforms vague desires into lived reality. The irony is powerful. The chains of discipline are far lighter than the chains of regret. Structure may feel heavy at first, but over time it makes you strong. Regret, on the other hand, grows heavier every day you avoid it. If you want to live with freedom tomorrow, you must accept structure today. So don't fear discipline, don't reject routines. Instead, see them as the tools that carve out your liberty. Because freedom is not found in doing whatever you want. Freedom is found in having the strength to do what matters most. Ask yourself now, are you truly free, or are you enslaved by your impulses? Do you control your days, or do your days control you? If you want to answer differently, start by embracing structure, not as a prison, but as the key that unlocks the deepest form of freedom. 4. Redefine what freedom really means. Most people confuse freedom with indulgence. They think freedom is being able to do whatever you feel like in the moment. Eat what you crave, say what comes to mind, abandon commitments when they get hard, chase every new distraction. But that isn't freedom, that is slavery. Slavery to your impulses, to your fears, to the external forces that know exactly how to manipulate your desires. True freedom is something far greater, far rarer, and far harder to achieve. It is the strength to rise above temptation, to remain steady when everything inside you screams for the easy way out. Think about this. A smoker says, "I'm free to smoke whenever I want." But is that really freedom, or is it dependency disguised as choice? A person who can't stop checking their phone every 5 minutes believes they are choosing to scroll, but in truth, their attention is being hijacked by algorithms designed to exploit weakness. Freedom isn't found in always saying yes to your desires. It is found in the ability to say no, to remain in control even when the craving feels overwhelming. The ancients understood this well. The Stoics taught that the man who follows every desire is the least free of all. Epictetus declared, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Freedom, then, is not measured by how much you can consume, but by how little controls you. To be free is to wake up and know that no substance, no craving, no opinion, and no fear has the power to dictate your actions. That is a freedom so few ever taste, because most people never break the chains of their own appetites. Look at the modern world, and you will see how this false version of freedom dominates. Advertisers tell you, "Indulge yourself, you deserve it." Social media screams, "Express everything instantly. You're free to say whatever you want." Entertainment platforms whisper, "Keep watching, keep consuming. It's your choice." But is it really choice if you can't stop? Is it freedom if you feel restless without it? What looks like liberty from the outside often hides captivity within. True freedom is quieter. It doesn't shout. It doesn't need approval. It shows itself in the person who refuses to be shaken by insults, who doesn't crumble when denied comfort, who can walk away from pleasure and still remain whole. This is the freedom that philosophers and sages have always pointed to. It's not glamorous, it's not easy, and it's not instantly satisfying. But it is the only freedom that cannot be stolen from you. Think of someone in prison who cannot control their circumstances, yet chooses to control their thoughts, their reactions, their inner life. Compare that to someone outside prison who has all the pleasures of the world available, yet lives enslaved to them, unable to stop, unable to choose differently. Who is freer? Freedom is not about what you have around you. It's about what has power over you. To redefine freedom, you must first look inward. Ask yourself, what truly controls me? Is it my fear of failure, my hunger for validation, my desire for comfort? True freedom begins the moment you stop lying to yourself and admit what owns you. Then, step by step, you take back control. You practice saying no when your body screams yes. You choose the harder path because you know it builds you stronger. You resist the pull of the crowd and listen to the quiet voice of your values. This is the process of reclaiming freedom, not glamorous, but transformative. And here is the paradox that most people miss. The less you need, the freer you become. When you no longer need constant approval, you are free from people's opinions. When you no longer need constant entertainment, you are free from boredom. When you no longer need to indulge every desire, you are free from addiction. Freedom is subtraction, not addition. It is not found in getting more, but in needing less. This is why freedom requires inner strength. Without strength, you will always confuse liberty with license. You will always believe that freedom means doing whatever you want, even if what you want destroys you. But with strength, freedom becomes self-mastery. It becomes the power to act according to principle rather than impulse, to hold steady in storms, to walk your own path without being blown off course by every temptation. So I ask you, are you truly free, or are you simply entertained? Are you living with control, or are you just reacting? Real freedom will never be handed to you. It cannot be bought, downloaded, or gifted. It is earned through discipline, through courage, through the willingness to stand above your cravings rather than bow to them. Redefine what freedom means, and you will discover that the life you thought you wanted, the one of endless indulgence, was never freedom at all. The life of self-mastery is the only life worth calling free. 5. See challenges as growth, not obstacles. When life tests you, what is your first reaction? Do you curse your bad luck, complain about the unfairness, and ask why this had to happen to you? Or do you pause and realize that this challenge, as painful as it feels, might be the exact thing you need to become stronger? Most people see difficulty as an enemy, but the truth, the hard truth, is that challenges are not obstacles blocking your path. They are the path. Every moment of struggle carries within it the seed of transformation. Think of your own past. Look back at the times you grew the most as a person. Was it when everything was easy, predictable, comfortable? Or was it when you were forced to endure, to stretch, to survive something you thought you couldn't? Growth never comes wrapped in comfort. Growth comes in disguise, wearing the mask of pain, frustration, loss, and uncertainty. Yet behind that mask is the very strength you claim you want. The Stoics were ruthless in their honesty about this. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way to him. The obstacles you face are not detours. They are your training ground. They are the weights that build your inner muscle, the fires that forge your character. Without them, you remain fragile, shallow, untested. With them, you gain the resilience that no easy life can ever provide." Modern psychology supports this too. Studies on resilience show that people who experience moderate stress and overcome it often become stronger, healthier, and more capable than those who never face hardship at all. It's called post-traumatic growth. The pain you endure doesn't just wound you, it can rebuild you if you let it. But here's the key. It depends on how you choose to see it. If you treat pain as punishment, you will collapse under it. If you treat it as training, you will rise because of it. Look at the world's greatest examples of strength. Athletes don't grow by avoiding the gym. They grow by lifting heavier weights, by pushing their muscles past the point of comfort, by embracing strain and fatigue. The same principle applies to life. The heavier the challenge, the stronger the result, if you don't quit. Every difficult conversation, every rejection, every failure, every heartbreak, all of it is resistance training for the soul. But here's the tragedy. Most people waste their challenges. They run from them, numb themselves with distractions, or sink into bitterness. They let the lesson slip away because they refuse to endure the discomfort long enough to receive it. They treat pain as an enemy instead of a teacher, and so they remain weak, repeating the same mistakes, trapped in the same cycles. You don't have to live like that. You can make a different choice. You can decide that every challenge is an invitation to grow. Instead of asking, "Why me?" ask, "What can this make of me?" Instead of saying, "This shouldn't have happened," say, "This is my training." Every time you do this, you shift from being a victim of circumstances to being a student of life. And that shift changes everything. This doesn't mean challenges will suddenly feel pleasant. Growth still hurts. Just like lifting weights burns your muscles, emotional and mental challenges will burn your spirit. But just as sore muscles signal growth, so does the ache of hardship signal transformation. The very pain you want to avoid is the evidence that you are being shaped into someone new. Think about this. A tree that never faces wind grows weak roots. The moment a storm comes, it topples. But a tree that has stood against countless winds develops roots that go deep into the earth. The storm does not break it, it strengthens it. You are no different. Every storm you face is an opportunity to send your roots deeper, to anchor yourself in resilience that cannot be taken away. So the next time life strikes you, pause, breathe, refuse to call it unfair. Instead, call it necessary. Tell yourself, "This is how I grow. This is how I become who I am meant to be." Because the truth is simple. Without resistance, there is no progress. Without struggle, there is no strength. Without pain, there is no transformation. You can spend your life running from challenges, or you can embrace them as the fuel for your evolution. One path leads to fragility and regret. The other leads to power, resilience, and unshakable strength. Which will you choose? 6. Your attitude creates your world. Two people can live through the exact same event, yet walk away with completely different realities. One sees disaster, the other sees opportunity. One feels crushed, the other feels challenged. What's the difference? Not the event itself, it's their attitude. Your attitude is the lens through which you interpret life, and that lens colors everything you see. Change your attitude, and you literally change your world. Think about it. Life is not what happens to you, but how you respond to what happens. A flat tire on your way to work can be the reason you spiral into anger, ruin your day, and snap at everyone you meet. Or it can be the reminder that you need patience, that you're still breathing, still alive, still capable of moving forward. The tire is the same. The difference is you. That's the hidden power you carry every day. The Stoics understood this with brutal clarity. Epictetus taught that it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Events are neutral, they are facts, but the story you tell yourself about them, the interpretation, is what creates your experience of suffering or peace. If you choose to see yourself as a victim, the world becomes hostile. If you choose to see yourself as resilient, the world becomes a proving ground. The choice is always yours, even if it doesn't feel like it. Modern psychology confirms this. Cognitive behavioral therapy, one of the most effective treatments for anxiety and depression, is based on the idea that your thoughts shape your feelings and actions. Change the thought, and you change the outcome. A setback at work doesn't mean I'm worthless. It can mean I need to adjust my strategy. A breakup doesn't mean I'll never be loved. It can mean this experience is shaping me into someone stronger, someone more aware. The event doesn't define you, your attitude does. But here's the challenge. Most people live on autopilot. They let their first reaction dictate everything. anger, frustration, jealousy, despair. These emotions rise up instantly, and they surrender to them without question. They don't realize that between the event and the reaction, there is a space, and in that space lies freedom, the freedom to choose a different attitude. Train yourself to pause in that space, and suddenly the world bends differently around you. Let's make this real. Imagine two entrepreneurs who launch businesses that fail within a year. The first sees it as proof that they're not cut out for success. They quit, humiliated, and spend the rest of their life haunted by that failure. The second sees it as a harsh but valuable lesson. They study what went wrong, adapt, and try again. Years later, they succeed, not because life treated them better, but because their attitude transformed failure into fuel. Same event, different worlds. Your attitude also shapes how people respond to you. Walk into a room with bitterness, and you repel others. Walk in with openness, and you attract them. Life is a mirror. What you project often comes back to you. If you constantly complain, life will feel heavier. If you practice gratitude and resilience, life will feel lighter, not because circumstances magically change, but because you change the filter through which you live them. This doesn't mean pretending everything is fine when it isn't. It doesn't mean toxic positivity. It means owning your perspective. It means choosing the interpretation that empowers you instead of the one that weakens you. If life gives you pain, don't deny it, but don't stop there. Ask yourself, what can I do with this? How can I grow from this? What story will I tell myself about this moment? Those questions shift your attitude, and your attitude shifts everything else. So here is the truth. Your attitude is the architect of your reality. It determines whether obstacles break you or build you. It decides whether you live in constant defeat or constant possibility. You cannot control the storms of life, but you can control the sails. And sometimes that is the only control that matters. Ask yourself today, what kind of world am I creating with my attitude? Am I feeding despair or resilience, bitterness or gratitude, fear or courage? Because in the end, life isn't about what happens to you. It's about who you choose to become because of it. And that choice begins with the attitude you take right now. 7. Give your life a purpose. What wakes you up in the morning? Is it the alarm clock, or is it a mission that burns so deeply inside you that you can't ignore it? Most people drift through life without a clear sense of purpose. They wake up because they have to, not because they want to. They go to work, follow routines, and keep themselves busy. But deep down, they feel restless, unsatisfied, and lost. Why? Because motion without direction is emptiness. You can run fast, but if you don't know where you're going, speed only takes you nowhere faster. Human beings are not built to live without meaning. We need something greater than ourselves to anchor us, to pull us forward when things get hard. Without purpose, life feels heavy, and even small challenges crush us. With purpose, life feels lighter, and even great obstacles become bearable. A person with a mission doesn't crumble when the world pushes back. They rise because they know what they're fighting for. The Stoics spoke often about living according to nature, which meant aligning your life with your true role, your highest values, your unique contribution to the world. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily that he was born to serve others, to fulfill his duty as emperor and human being. That clarity gave him strength to face betrayals, wars, and loss without losing his sense of self. Purpose was not a luxury for him, it was survival. And it can be the same for you. Modern psychology echoes this truth. Studies show that people with a strong sense of purpose live longer, healthier, and happier lives. Purpose gives resilience. It reduces stress because setbacks are no longer meaningless pain. They are meaningful struggles. If you know why you're enduring, you can endure almost anything. Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor, put it perfectly. Those who have a why to live can bear almost any how. But here's the problem. Many people search endlessly for meaning, as if it's something they're supposed to discover out there, hidden in the world like a treasure chest. They wait for it to appear, hoping someone or something will reveal their purpose. That is a mistake. Purpose is not found. It is created. It begins the moment you decide to give your life a mission. You don't wait for meaning. You choose it. Ask yourself, what do you want your life to stand for? What kind of person do you want to be remembered as? What values do you want to embody, no matter what happens? These questions may not give you a complete answer right away, but they point you in the right direction. Your purpose doesn't have to be grand or world-changing. It just has to be real. It has to matter to you. It could be raising your family with love and strength. It could be dedicating yourself to creativity, innovation, or service. It could be simply becoming the strongest, wisest version of yourself, so that your presence inspires others to do the same. The danger of living without purpose is that the world will give you one. Society will tell you that your mission is to consume, to climb a corporate ladder, to collect possessions, to chase shallow recognition. And if you don't resist, you will spend your life serving someone else's agenda. You'll wonder why you feel empty, when in fact you've been running on a script that was never yours to begin with. Purpose is liberation. When you have it, distractions lose their power over you. Petty insults, small setbacks, daily frustrations, they stop mattering as much because you have bigger things to focus on. Purpose pulls you out of bed when motivation fails. It carries you through the storms. It turns discipline from a burden into a joy, because every action becomes part of something larger. So here is the challenge. Stop waiting for your purpose to appear. Stop pretending you're lost when you are perfectly capable of choosing direction. Today, decide. Even if it's small, even if it's imperfect, give your life a mission. Say to yourself, this is who I am. This is what I'm building. This is why I'm here. The clarity will ignite a fire inside you, and once it's lit, the world will feel different, not because it changed, but because you did. Remember this, life is short, but it becomes infinitely meaningful when lived with purpose. Without it, even the longest life feels empty. With it, even the shortest life burns bright. 8. Gratitude is strength. Most people think of gratitude as something soft, almost sentimental, like a polite thank you whispered at the dinner table. But gratitude, when truly practiced, is not weakness. It is strength. It is a force that shifts your perspective, stabilizes your mind, and gives you power in situations where others collapse. Gratitude is not about ignoring pain. It is about refusing to let pain define the whole picture. It is about anchoring yourself in what remains, in what is possible, in what is already enough. Think about this. Two people can go through the exact same hardship. One sinks into despair, repeating to themselves how unfair life is, how little they have left. The other acknowledges the suffering, but also chooses to see what they still possess: the breath in their lungs, the lessons they are learning, the people who support them. The hardship is the same, but the second person carries an invisible armor: gratitude. That armor doesn't erase pain, but it makes pain survivable. It makes it meaningful. The Stoics practiced gratitude relentlessly. Marcus Aurelius began his meditations by listing the people he was grateful for, the teachers, family, and mentors who shaped him. Why? Because he understood that gratitude roots you, reminds you of your strength, and keeps bitterness from poisoning your soul. Epictetus, who lived most of his life as a slave, still found reasons to be grateful for his mind, for the ability to choose his response, for the chance to live according to virtue. Gratitude gave him dignity when the world tried to strip it away. Modern science echoes this ancient wisdom. Research shows that gratitude rewires the brain. People who practice gratitude regularly experience lower levels of stress and depression, better sleep, stronger relationships, and even improved physical health. Why? Because gratitude shifts your focus. Instead of obsessing over what's missing, you anchor yourself in what's present. And when your mind focuses on what you have, your body and spirit find stability. Gratitude becomes a foundation of resilience. But here's the challenge. Gratitude doesn't come naturally when life feels cruel. When you lose your job, when your health falters, when someone betrays you, your instinct is not to say, "Thank you." Your instinct is anger, grief, despair, and that's okay. Gratitude doesn't mean denying those feelings. It means refusing to stay trapped in them. It means saying, "Yes, this hurts, but what remains? What can I still honor, still value, still build from?" Gratitude doesn't erase suffering, but it prevents suffering from erasing you. Think of soldiers returning from war, many with scars, both visible and invisible. Some live the rest of their lives bitter, defined by loss. Others, despite carrying the same weight, choose to be grateful for survival, for family, for the chance to rebuild. Their gratitude becomes the difference between a broken life and a renewed one. Gratitude is not about the absence of hardship, it's about the presence of strength in the midst of it. You can begin small. Gratitude doesn't require dramatic gestures. It can start with noticing simple things: the warmth of sunlight, the fact that you woke up breathing, the kindness of a stranger, the lessons hidden in your failures. Over time, these small acknowledgements accumulate into a mindset, a lens that colors the way you see everything. And once gratitude becomes your default, your world transforms. Suddenly, what once seemed unbearable becomes fuel. What once seemed empty becomes full. But here is the deeper truth. Gratitude protects you from entitlement, and entitlement is poison. When you believe the world owes you something, you are constantly disappointed, constantly angry. Gratitude flips this, reminding you that nothing is guaranteed, that everything is a gift. Even the struggles, even the pain, even the chance to breathe today. This humility makes you unbreakable because you stop demanding that life be easier and start honoring the fact that life exists at all. So, ask yourself, when was the last time you felt truly grateful? Not for something big, but for something small and ordinary. What if you started practicing gratitude not as a feeling that comes and goes, but as a discipline, a daily choice? Because gratitude, when practiced daily, is not just an emotion. It's a weapon. It shields you from despair. It disarms envy. It strengthens resilience. And it reminds you that you already have enough to keep moving forward. Gratitude is strength. Not soft, not sentimental, but fierce. The kind of strength that keeps you standing when the world tries to knock you down. Practice it, and you'll discover a truth that most people never see. That even in your darkest moments, there is always something left to honor, something left to fight for. 9. Face fear and step into the unknown. Fear is the invisible wall that keeps most people from ever living fully. It whispers that the unknown is dangerous, that failure is inevitable, that risk will destroy you. And so, people shrink back into the comfort of the familiar, even when the familiar suffocates them. But here's the paradox. The life you dream of, the growth you crave, the transformation you secretly long for, it all lives on the other side of that fear. If you refuse to face it, you refuse to live. Think of every breakthrough moment in your life. Didn't it require stepping into something you didn't fully understand? The first time you spoke up when your voice trembled, the moment you moved to a new place, started a new job, or dared to love again after heartbreak. In each case, you were terrified, but you acted anyway. And afterward, you looked back and realized the fear was bigger than the reality. The unknown was not a monster waiting to devour you. It was simply a door, and once you walked through it, you were stronger. The Stoics had no illusions about fear. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Fear is almost always a story your mind invents, a projection of what might go wrong, magnified until it feels unbearable. But notice this. The majority of those imagined disasters never actually happen. The fear was real in your mind, but not in reality. And the few times hardship does arrive, you often discover you are far stronger than you expected. Fear lies. Strength tells the truth. Modern psychology reveals the same. Exposure therapy, one of the most effective treatments for phobias and anxiety, is based on a simple principle. The more you face what you fear, the less control it has over you. Every time you step into the unknown, your brain learns that the danger it imagined is not as absolute as it believed. Slowly, fear shrinks, and courage expands. Avoidance, on the other hand, feeds fear. The longer you hide, the bigger it grows. But here's the brutal truth. You will never eliminate fear completely. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to act despite it. The people you admire, the ones who seem fearless, are not without fear. They simply refuse to bow to it. They feel the trembling, hear the doubts, see the risks, and they move forward anyway. That is what makes them powerful. Consider explorers who set out across oceans without knowing if land even existed beyond the horizon. Consider inventors who faced ridicule for ideas that seemed impossible. Consider ordinary people who left behind toxic relationships, stable jobs, or comfortable routines to pursue something uncertain but true to their soul. In each case, fear was present, but so was courage. And because courage won, the world and their lives changed. Fear disguises itself as protection. It tells you it's keeping you safe. But safety without growth is another word for stagnation. Yes, the unknown carries risks. You will stumble. You will fail sometimes. You will feel lost. But the greater risk is never stepping at all, because then you guarantee a life of repetition, of shrinking, of wondering what if, until your final breath. So how do you face fear practically? Start small. You don't need to leap off cliffs. Begin with the uncomfortable conversations you've been avoiding, the new skills you've been putting off, the decisions you've delayed because of uncertainty. Each step into the unknown, no matter how small, trains your spirit. Each time you choose courage, you remind yourself that fear is not a wall, it's a veil, and you can walk through it. And here's the most important lesson. Every time you face fear, you build self-respect. You prove to yourself that you are capable of more than you thought. That proof becomes confidence, and confidence becomes momentum. Eventually, what once terrified you becomes your new normal, and you start seeking challenges deliberately because you've learned that fear is not your enemy. It is your compass. It points directly to the places where you have the most to gain. So, the next time fear rises, don't turn away. Thank it. Recognize it as a signpost, showing you exactly where your growth lives. Then take the step. Step into the unknown, trembling if you must, but stepping nonetheless. Because life doesn't reward avoidance. It rewards those who move forward in the face of fear. And that is how you build a life that is not only lived, but lived fully. 10. Detach from conditions. Own your life. Most people tie their happiness to conditions outside their control. They say, "I'll be happy when I make more money, when I get the promotion, when I find the right partner, when I move to a better place." But notice what happens. The moment one condition is met, another takes its place. The finish line always moves farther away, and so they spend their entire lives chasing happiness like a mirage in the desert, always visible, never reachable. True ownership of life begins when you cut this chain, when you stop depending on external conditions to dictate your state of mind. Detachment does not mean you stop caring or that you abandon goals. It means you stop giving your power away. You stop letting your sense of worth rise and fall with the market, with people's opinions, with unpredictable circumstances. Imagine how fragile it is to build your peace on things you cannot control. If money defines you, a market crash destroys you. If other people's approval defines you, rejection shatters you. If comfort defines you, hardship breaks you. But when your center is internal, when your values, your choices, your inner compass are your foundation, nothing outside can enslave you. The Stoics hammered this truth relentlessly. Epictetus taught that some things are in our control and others are not, and that freedom lies in focusing only on what is ours, our thoughts, our choices, our actions. Everything else, wealth, health, reputation, relationships, can be taken away in an instant. If your happiness depends on them, you are never safe. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. Detachment is not coldness, it is clarity. It is refusing to gamble your inner peace on things that were never yours to control. Modern psychology shows something similar. Studies on happiness reveal that once basic needs are met, more money or possessions add very little to long-term fulfillment. Why? Because human beings adapt quickly. The raise you thought would make you happy soon feels normal. The new car loses its shine. The perfect partner cannot protect you from your own insecurities. External conditions can only ever give temporary boosts. Real, lasting well-being comes from internal stability. Knowing who you are, what you stand for, and how you choose to respond. Detachment is the practice of reclaiming that stability. It is saying, "I want success, but I don't need it to be at peace. I want love, but I don't need it to feel whole. I want recognition, but I don't need it to know my worth." That subtle shift changes everything. Suddenly you move through life lighter, freer, stronger. You can pursue goals with passion, but you no longer cling to them with desperation. If they come, you are grateful. If they don't, you remain steady. Consider this. When you tie your worth to external conditions, you live like a leaf in the wind, blown wherever circumstances take you. But when you detach, you become like a rooted tree. Storms may shake you, but they cannot uproot you. Detachment gives you stability in a world that is constantly unstable. It gives you ownership of yourself. But here's the paradox. Detachment doesn't weaken motivation. It strengthens it. When you no longer fear losing everything, you act with more courage. You take bolder risks because failure no longer threatens your identity. You love more freely because rejection no longer defines your worth. You give more generously because your sense of abundance is not tied to possessions. Detachment frees you to live fully, not as a hostage to conditions, but as the owner of your own soul. Ask yourself, what conditions have you chained your happiness to? Is it money, love, status, recognition? What would happen if those conditions disappeared tomorrow? Would you collapse, or would you remain steady? True power is the ability to say, I may lose everything external, but I will never lose myself. That is the kind of ownership no one can take from you. So, detach from conditions, own your life, build your happiness on what no storm can wash away, your choices, your integrity, your inner strength. Because the world can take almost everything from you, but it can never take the self-mastery you choose to cultivate. And that, in the end, is the only security that matters. At the end of all these lessons, one truth stands taller than the rest. Nobody cares as much as you think they do. Not about your excuses, not about your failures, not even about your dreams. And that's not meant to sound cruel. It's meant to free you. Because if nobody else is carrying the responsibility, then it has always been yours. Your mind, your time, your strength, your purpose. These belong to you alone. You've seen by now that mastering the mind is not a luxury, it's survival. That living fully in the present is the only way to stop losing your life to regrets and worries. That freedom is not indulgence, but structure. That temptation is not liberty, and obstacles are not enemies. You've learned that your attitude doesn't just shape your days, it shapes your entire world. That life without purpose is drift, but life with purpose is power. That gratitude is not softness, but armor. That fear is not a signal to retreat, but a compass pointing you toward growth. And that detachment is not coldness, but ownership, the refusal to hand your happiness to conditions that can vanish in an instant. Put all of these together, and what do you see? A way of living that doesn't rely on applause, or on validation, or on being rescued. A way of living that depends on you. The secret is simple, but it takes courage. Do it for yourself, not to prove something to others, not to meet the world's shifting standards, not even to silence the critics. Do it because you are alive now, and your life deserves to be lived at its fullest. And yes, the path will be hard. There will be days when your mind rebels, when fear screams louder than courage, when gratitude feels distant, when purpose seems unclear. But those are the days that matter most. Because the decision you make in those moments, the decision to act anyway, is what builds you. That is the proof that you are not ruled by weakness, but led by strength. So here's the final challenge. Stop waiting. Stop postponing. Stop telling yourself that tomorrow is when you'll begin. Nobody is coming to give you permission. Nobody is coming to carry the weight. This life is yours, and it will remain yours until the end. The question is, will you own it, or will you waste it waiting for someone else to care? If you've listened this far, you already know the answer. Deep down, you're ready. You've always been ready. So take one step today, just one. That is purely for you. Not for recognition, not for applause, not for proof. Do it for you. And then tomorrow, take another. Stack them day by day until you look back and realize that the life you once dreamed of is no longer a dream. It is your reality. Now ask yourself, what is the one thing I will start doing today for myself, with no need for anyone else's approval? Write it down, say it out loud, and let it be the beginning of a new chapter, because nobody cares, and that's your greatest advantage.